National Education at the Moscow Pedagogical State University. I've been teaching here for nearly 3 academic years now, and I teach freshman students general English and the IELTS preparation course here. So I know a thing or two about exam prep. Let me walk you through the structure of our today's webinar. First, I'll give you a brief description of speaking task 4, and as well as some important things to bear in mind when approaching it. Next, we'll move on to the cliches you can use at every single stage of the monologue, which will be accompanied by a sample answer throughout. Finally, I'll suggest some practice ideas for you to occupy yourselves with in the remaining time. Okay, so what is speaking task number 4? In this time, you need to imagine that you and your friend are working on a school project, and you have found some illustrations that you want to share with your friend, which are related to the topic of your project. But for some reasons, technical or other reasons, you can't share the images with them, so you have to describe them verbally. And you need to record a voice message to your friend, and you will have to talk continuously for not more than 3 minutes, covering the following 4 bullet points, explaining the choice of the illustrations and describing them, as well as noting the differences between the 2 photographs, then the advantages and the disadvantages of the 2 types of something that the photographs illustrate. And finally, you need to express your opinion on the subject of the project. In other words, you'll need to say which option out of the 2 is more preferable in your opinion. For example, if we take a look at this VP task from the screen, we can see that the topic of the project is shopping, and the pictures under the task illustrate 2 different types of shopping, right? So in the first photograph, we can see going to the grocery store, but in the second one, we can see online shopping. So basically, you will need to compare the 2 types of shopping. Not how many people are featured in picture 1 and picture 2, not what they are wearing, and so on and so forth, but only the details related directly to the topic of the project. Okay, so aside from shopping, multiple other topics can come up, from family and friendship to hobbies, from personality traits to technology and the internet, from youth culture to the universe and space exploration. Some other topics can also come up. So for a more detailed list of topics and subtopics, check out our other episodes on this channel. Okay, here's a bunch of important things you need to remember when approaching this kind of task. First of all, you need to say between 12 and 15 sentences, but don't attempt to count the sentences. That will distract you a lot from your monologue. If you follow the instructions for every single point of the plan accurately, you will get this number of sentences naturally. So don't ever try to count them. Is it possible to exceed this limit of sentences? Yeah, it's perfectly fine to say more than 15 sentences. You won't be penalized for that per se, but if you do so, there is a risk that you might fail to meet the time limit to fit into this 3 minutes time frame, and in that case, you might miss the last part or the last few parts of the plan, and for that, unfortunately, you will be penalized. So you can only say more than 15 sentences if you are really confident about the pace of your speech. The next important thing to bear in mind is not to forget about opening and closing lines. Although these points are not included in the plan, you will still be penalized for like omitting them, right? So don't forget to greet your friend and say that you have been looking for illustrations for your project. And don't forget to like say goodbye to them and say you're looking forward to their feedback. So opening and closing lines need to be there. The next crucial thing to remember is it has to do with the differences in the differences between the two photographs. So the differences you're talking about need to be directly connected, directly adjacent to the topic of your project. So no matter what the topic is, it always implies some sort of comparison. It is always something that comes in two different types, in two different genres, ways, and so on and so forth. So it always implies putting two things next to each other, comparing them, and picking out the best, yes, the one which you believe is more preferable than the other. So as I said before, it is like it's okay, yes, to like compare the number of people or what they're wearing. It's like fine, you won't be penalized for mentioning that, but it won't be regarded as a legitimate difference between the photographs. The differences in question need to be directly related to the topic of the project. Then let's turn to the next point. At the stage of describing the pictures, make sure you use the present continuous tense to describe the actions of the characters. Treat this as something that's happening right at the moment, that doesn't belong to the past, or that doesn't happen in general. Yes, it's something that happens right at the moment. It's something that is happening, I'm sorry, right at the moment. And finally, throughout the whole monologue, you need to use signposting language to move from one topic to another. So what do I mean by this? By this, I mean that you need to use some special linkers to guide your listener through your monologue and to signal that you're moving on to some other point in the plan. And this is something like one of the things you will be assessed for in the exam. And this is exactly what our today's lesson is about. So let's take a look at this particular slide. I have picked two photographs for you on the internet. These are stock photographs. They are not actual ЕГЭ photographs, but I think they still serve our purpose perfectly. So I want you now to use the chat box and try and assume what the topic of the project is and what two alternatives we can compare here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So, you and your friend are working on the project art, and the two alternatives that need to be compared here are the different types of art, namely digital art and traditional art. So the likes of this topic you can get in the exam. let's take a look at the cliches you can use at each particular stage. So the first one, as I told you before, is the introductory lines. So to greet your friend, you can say hello and then friend name, hi, friend name, hey, friend name, or even what's up, friend name. It's totally fine to say things like hey or what's up, as we're sticking to an informal style in this monologue because it's a voice message for your friend. Then I suggest that you say, remember about our school project on, and then topic name. For example, remember our school project on the types of art. And then you're going to say that you have been looking for photographs and you have found 2 pics that fit the purpose perfectly. For instance, you can say, I have found 2 photos to illustrate it, and I want to tell you about them. Next, we can, or else, yes, or else we can say, I've just come across 2 great photos for our project. I'm sure they match the topic perfectly. Alternatively, we can say, I've been looking for pictures for a project, and I found 2 photos that are exactly what we need. Or we can say, I found 2 photos for a project, and I'd like to discuss them with you. Okay, so as you can see, there are different ways to approach this introduction, but they are all pretty informal, and that's exactly what we need here. Okay, so now let's take a look at the sample answer I have written in relation to the project about art. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I demonstrate the screen again? Probably yes. Something went wrong with my presentation. Ah, yeah. Okay. Do you see the slide now? Probably yes. I accidentally closed the slide. I'm sorry. Okay, so once again, let's look. I'm sorry, guys. Technical issues. Technical issues. Just like the ones you're having with the photographs that you can't share with your friend. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, okay, let's continue. Let's continue. So, in relation to the project about art, we can write the following. What's up, Stacy? Remember about our school project on digital and traditional art? I've just come across 2 photos which match the topic perfectly. Let me tell you about them. Yes. Okay, so these are the target phrases that I have picked, but obviously you can use your own. Okay, let's move on to the second section, description and differences. Okay, so as I told you, we need to describe the photographs briefly, like focusing on the key details related to the topic of the project, and like comparing the 2 different types, modes, ways, genres of something. Here we will be comparing like the features related to digital and traditional art. So we can say something along the lines of the following. In the first photo, picture, or even pic, to be more informal, we can see the following, or the following is happening, right? Then in the second one, the following is happening. Alternatively, you can say the first picture shows blah, blah, blah. And then moving on to the second image, it depicts the following. Then if you want to, you can say, or even if you don't want to actually, because it's pretty crucial, you need to say something like this. I think these photos are perfect for our project as they illustrate the 2 different types of something, ways to do something, and so on. Once again, in our case, this will be the 2 types of art. Yes, digital and traditional art. Let's take a look at the modal answer. So I'm writing here. In the first photo, a man is sitting in front of a computer screen and drawing something on his iPad with a stylus. In the second one, there is a woman sitting at the table surrounded by different art supplies. She's drawing a picture on paper using color pencils. I think these photos are perfect for a project as they depict 2 different types of art. The guy in the first one is making a digital artwork, while the woman in the second one is creating a picture using traditional methods. Bear in mind, though, that this description is a little bit too wordy. If you are not sure that you can say, yes, that you can fit more than 15 sentences into your monologue, it's better to omit some of the sentences. For instance, we can shorten it like this. We can say, there is a woman sitting at the table, drawing a picture on paper using colored pencils. Yes, so that we combine the sentences and we can leave out the part that she's surrounded by art supplies. Yeah, I guess the rest is pretty necessary here. Okay. So let's turn to the next section. The next section is the advantages of the two types, the two modes, right? The two genres of something. For this, you need to use the following introductory phrase. So you can say, despite their differences, both types of something, ways to do something, and so on, have their advantages. Then you go on to list, yes, the advantages of these two different things. Yes, so you can say the biggest advantage of the first thing is, or the best thing about the first one is. Alternatively, you can say the main benefit of the first thing is. And finally, talking about the first thing, its key benefit, or its main benefit, its primary benefit, and so on, is the following. Then we can use some signposting language, yes, to move on from the first thing to the other one. And for that purpose, we can say things such as concerns, as regards, as for, or when it comes to. They are all pretty much the same. They are similar to что касается in the Russian language. So we can say as concerns the second thing, or as regards the second thing, or as for the second thing, or when it comes to the second thing. And then you say its key advantage is the following, or its primary benefit is the following, or the best thing about it is blah, 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 right? So you just don't forget to replace, yes, the words in italics with like the actual type of something, yes, that you're talking about. Okay, so let's take a look at the modal answer now. Let's take a look at the modal answer. So here's what I wrote. I wrote, despite their differences, both types of art have their advantages. Talking about digital art, the biggest advantage is that any mistake can be undone. You can always go one step back and fix whatever you don't like about your drawing. As regards traditional art, the key benefit is that the artworks come out more unique and exclusive, as every person's lines or brushstrokes are different. Once again, this modal answer might be a bit too wordy for some speakers, for some test takers. Actually, it's not impossible to combine, for instance, these two sentences into one. To shorten it a little bit, we can say, for instance, talking about digital art, the biggest advantage is that any mistake can be undone, and you can always fix whatever you don't like about your drawing. If your pace of speech is not fast enough. Yeah, right. So now we're looking at the next section. The next section is the disadvantages, yes, of both the things, right? Both the ways to do something, both the types of something. Then to move on to this part, yes, of your monologue, you need to say something like this. Talking about the disadvantages, I think we should also cover them in the project. Or again, if you find this a bit too wordy, you don't necessarily have to say that you think that you should cover them in the project, but you can just dive right into it by saying, looking at the disadvantages, the main drawback of the first thing, type, mode, and so on is the following. Or moving on to the disadvantages, the most obvious drawback of the first thing is the following. Then you move on to the other one, to the other option. And again, to do this, you need to use one of these phrases, which mean in Russian, что касается, and they are as follows. Yes, as regards the second thing, as concerns the second thing, as for the second thing, or when it comes to the second thing. And then you go on to say that its main disadvantage, drawback, or downside is the following. Yes, alternatively, you can even say something like the biggest issue with it, right? Or the biggest problem with it. But disadvantage, drawback, and downsides sound a bit fancier than that. Okay, so here's my modal answer. Let's take a look. Okay, I should have raised this, yeah? So here's what I wrote anyways. Looking at the disadvantages, the key drawback of traditional art is that it's expensive, as art supplies cost a lot. As regards digital art, its main downside is that you need to be tech-savvy to be good at it. Digital art software, such as Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, has a lot of functions and quite a complex interface, so it will take a while to master it. Well, the same disclaimer has to be applied here that the answer might be too wordy for some of you, so the last sentence from here might have been a bit shorter. Yes, if the pace of speech of the speaker is not fast enough, if the speaker is not fluent enough, and so on, right? Okay, then you move on to saying which of the two types of something you prefer. And for that, you can use the following cliches. You can say, as for me, I prefer option name, right? Because blah, blah, blah. Or personally, I prefer, yes, a particular option because blah, blah, blah. Like alternatively, you can say, in my opinion, the first or the second way, form, or type is more preferable because blah, blah, blah. Or personally, I find the first, the second type, way, form, mode, and so on more preferable because. And then you simply explain why. So here's what I wrote in relation to this. Overall, both digital and traditional art can be exciting. But personally, I prefer traditional art as you are more likely to develop your own unique style when you use physical art materials. For this particular part, if we want to shorten it, if you're running out of time, I would say that the first sentence it's not unnecessary, obviously, but it's like an extra one. You don't necessarily have to say that both types of something have their advantages or can be interesting and exciting. You can just instantly say that personally you prefer one of them and simply explain why. Okay, so only if you're really confident about your abilities should you say more than that. Okay, and finally, don't forget about some closing lines. You can say something along the lines of the following. You can say, that's all for now, bye. Or, that's all from me now. Please get in touch with me and tell me what you think. Or, that's all from me now. Please let me know what you think. Or, that's all for now. Please get in touch and give me some feedback. By the way, here's a little typo. Yes, I hope you won't be anyhow misled by it. Yes, it's in touch. Please get in touch and give me some feedback. So yeah, you can use any combination of these phrases. You don't necessarily have to say that you're waiting for feedback, but at least say goodbye to your friend, say that it's all for now. By the way, it's not really recommended to use phrases such as that's all I wanted to say, goodbye, because that's not how you actually talk to your real life friends. And the more naturally your monologue sounds, the better your score is. Okay, so let's take a look at what of the phrases I have picked for this part. I've written, that's all from me now. Please let me know what you think. Well, as I've told you, my modal answer is a bit longer than standard. It's a whole 19 sentences. Well, it's recommended, yes, to kind of assess your pace of speech beforehand, yes, rationally beforehand, to make sure you are able to cover all the bullet points, to tick all the bullet points from the list. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the activities, like the homework prep activities I have prepared for you. So I have found some more stock photographs of the on the internet, which illustrate some two different types of something. So what I want you to do now, guys, is to use the chat box to tell me what the topic of the project is and what the two alternatives are. What two alternatives we will be comparing here. So what is being compared in the first pair of pictures? Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, here we are working on a project about shopping, and the two different types of shopping illustrated here is the two different types are go into a second-hand store, yes, and buying mass market clothing. Yes, buying brand new clothing, mass market clothing, and so on. Okay, then the next pair of pictures. What is the topic and what is being compared? Right. So, the topic you're working on with your friend here is pets. And we are comparing the two modes of living with a pet or living without one. The third pair of pictures. Absolutely. So here, the topic of the project is something like places to live, and we are comparing city life versus life in the countryside. Yes, urban life versus rural life. The fourth pair of pictures. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So the topic here is buying food, and we are comparing going to the grocery store and ordering a delivery. Yes, we are comparing these two options against each other. Okay, let's move on. What's being compared here? Okay, so these two pictures are related to the topic of transport, and we are comparing commuting by car or commuting by public transport. And finally, let's take a look at the last pair of pictures. Yeah, right on. The topic is traveling, and we are comparing traveling alone or traveling with someone else. So, if you have any time and energy left before the exam, a good idea would be to record yourselves delivering monologues, comparing these 6 pairs of pictures I have prepared for you. I think they match the format of the exam pretty well, and they are different. They are like something new. If you've already commented on all the like modal tasks from the internet, yes, from VP and other sources, can compare other pictures. Yes, you can compare these 6 pairs of pictures, or you can even find more stock images like these on the internet, making sure that they both are related to a particular topic from the list, and that they actually imply a comparison of 2 different types or modes of something. Okay, so this is basically all I wanted to tell you. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video and other videos from our channel, and good luck in the exam. Bye!